Former Border Patrol agent Anthony Burgos-Aviles finds himself on the other side of the law, standing trial in Laredo, Texas, accused of killing his lover Griselda and their one-year-old son. Prosecutors say it was all because he didn't want to pay child support and he wanted to keep that child a secret. Let's get you back to court now, and on the stand is Detective Garcia from the Laredo Police Department.
Okay, take one step down, so show it to the jury.
Yes, go ahead.
Now, explain to the jury, when you said he was on duty at the time, where does that Sam Brown or this utility belt go? How is it secured to his underbelly?
It would be secured by belt keepers. So this is just the belt keepers are used to fasten the utility belt to the underbelt, preventing it from, shifting during, tour duty.
And how is that put on? Can you just show how it's strapped on?
Yes. So you would strap it on like this, buckle it, and then you would fasten your belt keepers to the belt.
Thank you. You also said you discovered a crumpled up statement.
Yes.
This was in the truck.
Yes.
Permission to publish? Okay. This is State's Exhibit 32. And if you could read for us what he wrote in this, read at the top, what does this document say it is?
It says it's Laredo Police Department voluntary statement form.
Okay. And who's the author?
Ronald A. Burgos.
Okay. And do you know this address, 1119 McPherson Avenue?
Yes, that should be the address for the Laredo Police, Laredo, the U.S. Border Patrol station.
And he's writing this in the capacity of a USBP,
Yes,
United States Border Patrol?
United States Border Patrol, USBP,
In what capacity?
as a supervisor.
Okay. And is it in his capacity as a supervisor, what is his statement in reference to?
It's in reference to the discovery of.
Well, read what it says.
Okay, I was working my assigned duties. I was driving by Father Magnoble Park when I met up with BPA Lara. About 1 minute later, I called him to assist me with the subject laying on the ground. When he showed up, we went to the subject and tapped her to see if she was conscious. I then called EMS to respond. We made a sweep of the area and found a stroller and another later on. And he scratches out the body.
So here, what letter can you differentiate here? Hold on, I need to zoom this in. Okay. What does that letter indicate to you? Can you tell me?
I could see 3 letters.
Okay, well, let's start first with the letter I'm showing you. This letter.
Okay, that's a Y.
And what other letters do you see?
I see from right to left, I see a D, I see an O, and I see a B.
Objection, Your Honor, that's the witness's interpretation of any legible
Sustained.
statement.
Okay. So, did Mr. Burgos tell you when you got there that he had found another body?
No.
You also mentioned in your testimony about, you said a syringe.
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember where you found the syringe? What did you exactly find?
We found an 18 gauge syringe, also a 25 gauge syringe. Oh, I'm sorry, a needle. An 18 gauge needle and a 25 gauge needle and a syringe. And they were packaged, still in their package.
And where were they?
They were located in a lunchbox, a red lunchbox that was inside the kilo unit.
What color was that lunchbox?
It was a red lunchbox.
I'm gonna, if I may approach, Your Honor, I'm gonna show you what's marked as State's Exhibit. Can you tell that number? What did it say?
44.
44. Do you recognize this item?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Are there, Your Honor, I think are there still items in here?
There should be, yes.
Okay. Because there may be some perishable items, I don't want to introduce it, so I'll just ask you is this the lunchbox that was found? And
Yes.
And where was it found?
It was found in the back seat of the kilo unit.
When did you search this lunchbox?
It might have been in May. I don't know the exact date. I don't recall the exact date, but it was later.
Why?
Because the food in it started to smell, and I was asked to dispose of the food.
Okay, and when you opened up the lunchbox, what else was in there in addition to food?
Yes, we looked through it, and we found the packaged syringe, packaged 18 gauge needle, and packaged 25 gauge needle.
Okay, so the lunchbox, not really important because he works for Border Patrol and there's oftentimes not a place to eat, right? But the syringes found inside, that is so key for this jury because remember, baby Dominic had that injury on his leg that they testified about. Coming up, more testimony out of South Texas, where the former Border Patrol agent faces the death penalty if convicted in the killings of his mistress and his son. You're watching Court TV.
A woman and her one-year-old son found dead in a park.
Now the child's father stands trial for their murders.
An ex-Border Patrol agent's life hangs in the balance in this high-stakes death penalty trial.
This dirt trail will tell a story. Baby Dominic was being hunted, but not by a creature, not by an animal, but by his own father.
The Mistress and Child Murder Trial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
In South Texas, former Border Patrol agent Anthony Burgos-Aviles could face the death penalty if convicted in the brutal stabbings of his mistress and 20-month-old son. Last week, jurors heard testimony about the victim's injuries, that baby Dominic died from a fatal injury to his neck, and that the boy's mother, Griselda Hernandez, was stabbed 27 times. The medical examiner testified that she suffered brain hemorrhage consistent with either being hit in the head several times or falling and hitting a hard surface. She also had fractures to her wrist. Let's get you back into court now, and on the stand is Detective Garcia with the Laredo Police Department going over evidence collected from the government patrol car referred to as a kilo unit.
She arrived at approximately 9:05 at the Father Magnum Park through video surveillance
Okay.
located at the park.
And how were you able to connect her if you were from where she parked to where she was found?
From where she was parked to from where she was found, we followed the stroller marks.
Now, what if anything occurred after baby Dominic is found? And let me ask you specifically, where was Mr. Burgos standing when baby Dominic was found?
When baby Dominic was found, he was standing by the Border Patrol trucks
Okay. And how do you know?
because I saw him.
Okay. And was there any more exchange with him at that point?
No, but when it came time for me to go down and see Dominic, I followed a trail that we designated for authorized personnel to take to Dominic. And I remember as I approached Dominic, I heard footsteps behind me. I wasn't expecting anybody to follow me, but when I turned around, it was Burgos.
And what was he doing?
When I turn around and look at him, he had a pale face, his eyes were wide open, and he was just looking at Dominic. I thought at the time that he might not ever have seen a dead baby before. He was holding the voluntary statement in his hand, so I told him, hey, go back to the trucks and finish your statement there.
Okay. Is that the last time you have contact with him?
No. He asked me again, during that time frame, he asked me again whether we had identified the body, referring to Griselda. And again, this time I had to explain to him the procedure, that we weren't going to touch the body until the medical examiner came. We are not going to touch any items, move them around to look for IDs, to that nature. And he said that I'm just asking.
Okay. And what if anything happens after that exchange? What do you do?
After that exchange,
Yeah.
I don't.
You continue working the scene, or what do you?
Yes. So at that point, Dominic was found. We expanded the crime scene, and it's secured, waiting for our crime scene investigators to come and process the scene.
Okay. Does Mr. Burgos follow your order? Does he go walk away from you?
Yes, he walked away from me.
After that, do you have any more? Do you see him again that morning? Or?
He asked the third time. Yes, he did ask a third time whether we had identified the bodies, and he said that his supervisors were asking for that information, and I told him no. And after that interaction, I didn't see him again.
You stay there with the bodies?
I stayed there where the bodies were located, yes.
And by this time, Mr. Burgos is gone?
Yes.
Okay. So as the crime scene is being processed, the evidence is being collected, what if anything happens during this time?
Well, that's when, we started following these stroller marks. We followed them, we worked backwards and we followed them all the way to the dead end of Lorry Road. That's when we sort of lost track of the stroller marks, because from that point on the trails were paved.
Do you go to the area where the car is, or do you go back to the crime scene? You personally?
Me personally, I stayed at the crime scene.
Okay. And your fellow officers go to the
Yes,
parking lot?
they do.
Do you have any comms or communications with any officers while you're at the crime scene?
Yes.
Okay, and what is it in reference to?
It's in reference to them locating the registered owner to a white Mercedes that was parked at the Father Magno Park.
And who is the registered owner?
Angelica Hernandez.
Okay, and what other intel did you find out about the purpose of that car being there?
Yes, so our investigators relayed over the radio that he thought that the car was going to be the one for the bodies because the sister was concerned for, Angelica was concerned for her sister who was not answering the phone. She was set to meet the biological father of Dominic, who she named as Anthony Burgos, and who was a Border Patrol agent.
You received that information?
Yes.
What, if anything, happens, or what do you experience when you hear that information, when you receive that information?
What I experienced was a rush of adrenaline, I believe, because all the odd behaviors that I was catching finally had, to me, an explanation. I also felt a sense of urgency to let our personnel know about that information because he is a uniformed Border Patrol agent and he did have a gun with him. So my concern was officer safety also.
So what actions do you take, if any?
I relay over the radio that letting them know that that was the person that found the body.
How do you say it, if you recall?
He's the one that found the body.
And what other orders do you give over the radio?
I also ask if anybody has a visual of him because I didn't, and he wasn't in the area where I was.
And so what eventually happens?
So eventually I hear that they had him there by the car. I remember calling Rick, Investigator Rick Reyes, to let him know all the information that I gathered with my contact with Border Patrol agent Ronald Burgos.
And he's detained without incident?
He's detained without incident.
Okay. From there, what do you all do with him?
With Ronald Burgos, he is transported to the Laredo Police Department to be interviewed.
Okay. Now, as part of your investigation, was there any videos that were obtained in this case?
Yes.
Okay, please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what you did regarding gathering video evidence.
Yes, we gathered video footage from the Father Magno Park. We gathered video footage from the Chick-fil-A. We also had information that there was a drawbridge camera that captured the marked Border Patrol truck at approximately 10:10 a.m. So we used that to canvass for video footage. So we were able to obtain video footage from the surrounding area of the Mines Road, and we followed the path of the truck with video footage all the way to Burgos' residence, and from his residence all the way back to the scene where he eventually located Griselda.
Okay, so right there, we have connected the dots. And we went back in time, closed the circle, because Laredo PD Detective Raimundo Raimundo Garcia was talking about it was his call to action for officer safety. He put the dots together, connected it all of who the suspect is, a police officer with a duty belt. What do our guests think? They are still with us. Deputy Public Defender in Los Angeles, Philip Dubé, and criminal defense attorney and registered nurse in New York, Marie Pereira. Philip, to you first, what's your reaction in hearing that? It really kind of connected it all for me.
Very damaging. Obviously, the DNA analyst has already testified at the trial that I believe it was baby Dominic's blood was found on his belt keeper. And for viewers, all that is, it's a special sort of leather snap strap that holds up the holster so that if you ever have to draw your service revolver or deploy a taser, the belt will not drop. It'll still stay connected to your waist. And for the baby's blood to be on that is very damaging. When you couple the fact that belt keepers are typically in the possession of law enforcement, and you now have this testimony connecting the perpetrator to being with law enforcement, identity is no longer an issue. Let's put it that way. Or which category of offenders this falls under. Yeah. Obviously, that's what they do. They try to narrow it down to a small pool.
Yeah, and that duty belt not only had his duty weapon on it, but it also had a baton and a taser. But what else was found? Let's ask the registered nurse and how that all connects with this. That 18 gauge and 25 gauge needle in the lunchbox. Remember, the last time he saw his child, allegedly, there was that whole spider bite mystery, and then the medical examiner actually saved that injury, which was from a sharp object like a needle. Marie.
Very damaging because it shows premeditation, that he tried to murder this little child by chemically injecting that child with an agent that practically paralyzed him because he went from walking to crawling to being in pain. So he planned the murder out, which culminated in this vicious stabbing. And I could say, Philip, Law Library Dubé, even if you filed that Garrity motion, I guarantee you he would still be facing, like you said, an unsurmountable mountain of irrefutable evidence. Garrity motion or not, I guarantee you your pretend client would be convicted.
Well, we can't go to the law clerk down there because I have another follow-up question for you because you are the registered nurse. So, do you have to have something, a chemical in the syringe to cause damage, or could it have been air? A lot of people are asking online. I'm asking for them.
Why would he have a syringe if he didn't intend on filling that syringe with something to inject the baby? A little syringe would never kill a baby. He knows that. There had to have been something in that syringe in order to immobilize the baby like that, because there was testimony that she took him to the ER because he was in so much pain. She couldn't explain the pain, and he went from walking baby to crawling. That's how immobilized he was. So whatever he used, undetected or not, caused the baby to suffer some physical harm. Maybe not death, but he intended to hurt that baby, which negates any oh, this was like a crime of passion. It happened so fast, he didn't mean to do it. There was intent there. Another nail in the aggravating factors, death penalty situation, Mr. Garrity motion.